happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Oh, jeez, oh, Pete. There we go.
There we are. Let's try that again. So we're going to try again. Hello again. We're back. That was fun. I'm going to leave that unedited. I'm not going to change anything. Okay, so we are back. It is Thanksgiving week at the time of recording, and we have just, well, a couple hours ago, but we have just come and seen the latest offering from Marvel, Black Panther, Wakanda
Forever.
Which I almost kind of wish the title was just Wakanda Forever.
I actually think it's Wakanda Forever first.
No, it's Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Okay.
100%. Like, yeah. But I don't know. I kind of almost wish the title was just Wakanda Forever, but whatever. This was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of their last one of the year, so they're ending with a big one, and one that a lot of people, it's been surrounded with a lot of speculation, a lot of anticipation. Of course,
long time in the making.
Yeah, of course, the sequel to one of their biggest, most critically acclaimed, most important films. And of course, you know, everyone knows the tragic loss of Chadwick Boseman in 2020 kind of threw the entire future of the franchise into some question of, you know, what are they going to do? And
right.
They came out very quickly and said, we're not going to recast.
Right, as in not going to recast T'Challa.
Yeah, which I think was the right call.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people still have some questions about that, but I still think that was the right call.
Yeah, for sure.
Personally,
I agree with you 100%.
But in typical Marvel fashion, I think the smart thing that they did is they made the dealing with the grief and the sudden loss of
Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, like they made that kind of the primary narrative of the story.
They did.
That was the. So real quick, and we'll talk about, because there's a lot to unpack here. So in universe, King T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, has died off screen due to an unnamed illness.
Right.
His sister Shuri was trying very hard to save him at the last minute, but didn't make it. He passed on, and so now Wakanda is without a Black Panther
and without the king.
You know, even though the Queen is now
has taken back over, Queen Ramonda.
Yeah, played by Angela Bassett.
Mm-hmm.
But they're without the Black Panther, and so the rest of the nations of the world see this and go, oh, okay, well, now we want that vibranium that you've been hoarding. We're just going to come take it. And they're trying to hoard off these people, and at the same time, deposit of vibranium is found under the ocean.
Right.
And so people are thinking, oh, well, we'll just take this vibranium. But,
right.
Unbeknownst to just about anybody, there is a underwater civilization with a very fascinating origin story, which we'll talk about, that have laid claim to that vibranium, and they are basically the underwater version of Wakanda.
Right.
And their version of the Black Panther, King Namor, is equally as pissed off that people are coming into his territory and trying to take their natural resources, and he is trying to strike up a alliance with Wakanda, but they don't want to join an alliance with him. He's saying, you're basically going to do it with me, or I'm coming for you first.
Because the alliance he's trying to strike isn't just like an alliance, like let's just watch out for each other. He actively wants to take on the surface world.
Yeah, so it's not a mutual defense pact. It's a we're gonna strike first, strike hard, no mercy.
Right.
You know, it's a Cobra Kai thing. And so...
meanwhile, the scientist who was able to create the machine to find the vibranium is in danger, and she and Shuri end up getting kidnapped.
Yeah.
So...
You know... and of course that scientist is one of their new characters, Ironheart. who will be having a Disney Plus. So a lot going on here. So
a lot going on.
So let's just jump in. So that's all just the plot.
Right.
So what'd you think? Like, what are your thoughts?
I think that one of the smartest and most beautiful things that they've done in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole was the funeral scene for King T'Challa.
Yeah.
Because like the way that it's presented, it's so beautiful. All of these gorgeous costumes, all in white. There's this mural of T'Challa. I love Chadwick Boseman to the point that I named my cat after him. But you can tell that it's not just a funeral for King T'Challa. That is their memorial to Chadwick Boseman, and probably one of the top scenes of any of the MCU movies.
Yeah, it was, and that's how they open the film.
Oh my gosh,
that's how they open it, is with that.
And with the Marvel letters.
Yeah, the logo.
Yeah.
All being images of him and no music playing under it.
Oh my gosh, was. How hard was I crying?
You were crying pretty hard, like really early into the movie.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
it was incredibly touching.
I almost this is such a stupid thing to say because the movie was fairly long.
Right.
I almost wish that scene had gone on a little longer because there was so much happening in it. Like, you wanted to spend more time in that.
I mean, you could break down
in that moment and in that scene and stay there for a while.
The funeral procession.
Yeah, there's just a lot happening.
When they bring the coffin up into the it's all so beautiful.
And they're all like dancing and it's a celebration of life and not necessarily a.
It reminds me and I don't know enough about African culture to know that if it's like a traditionally African thing, but it was very reminiscent of the funeral processions in New Orleans.
That's what I was thinking too.
So only with African music instead of jazz.
Yeah.
But it was really beautiful.
But yeah.
And all these white costumes that are just.
Which I think we gotta. That's something else we can jump off from. Is that as always, this is by far, I think, in terms of design.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
I think the Black Panther films are the best of all the Marvel films in terms of the costume designs, the set designs, the everything, because they have to create an entire
world.
In this one, they create two entire cultures. It's not even like a world. It's a very deeply ingrained culture, and everybody has specific costumes and makeup and ornaments, and that are all that they all have some significance to the character, to the culture. It's gorgeous, and then you pile on top of that I'm just going to call them the Atlanteans, even though that's not what they are in this movie, but just what I'm going to call them.
Oh my gosh, it starts with a T.
Yeah.
T'Challa, T'Locan.
But I'm just going to call them the Atlanteans because that's what they are in the comics.
Nemours people.
Yeah.
Nemours.
So you put that on top of it, and you then have to do it again for this other culture, which is a completely different Mayan, Aztec,
right,
Hispanic.
The Mesoamerican indigenous people.
Yeah, that, all based heavily on their culture.
And just the
gorgeous.
Detail. The historical, and I know enough about costuming to know that there was significant research done into these cultures to be incorporated into the costumes. I'm no expert on African or Mesoamerican culture, but I know enough. So Shuri's funeral outfit, the neckline was drawing off of the rings, the stacking rings. There's African women. There's some African women that wear, and the different tribes with the different looks. The woman with the clay in her hair, and the man with the disc in his lip, and then they really take care to draw from that.
Yeah, And I think so. I want to spin off real quick from that, and I want to talk about again. I'm calling them the Atlanteans just because I can't remember. One of the things I love about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is I love how they streamline and update. Maybe update's the wrong word, but they streamline and reimagine a lot of these characters that have been around for decades. I think I say Namor is one of their oldest.
Right.
Like he was created around the same time as Captain America, if I remember correctly. So he's been around for a while, and to kind of strip that character down and build, because in the comics, he's the Marvel equivalent of Aquaman.
Right.
Or Aquaman's the equivalent of him. I forget which one was invented first. I think Namor was. But it's the same basic storyline. They live in Atlantis. He's
mad about pollution.
Yeah, he's the half son, I believe, of an Atlantean and a surface woman. I think. Don't quote me on that. He is the first mutant.
Which brings him into X-Men, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but I love the way that they strip all of that down to its core. And I have a feeling it was to avoid any comparisons to the Aquaman movies.
I would say, like, I honestly, in my opinion, I think that's the secondary effect, and the primary effect is to give accurate historical context to the characters.
Yeah, now because the new origin is they're not Atlanteans.
Mm-hmm.
They are, like I say, they're
Mesoamericans.
They're Mesoamericans who were infected by smallpox by the conquistadors,
mm-hmm.
and they found a similar herb to the one that the Black Panther would drink in the first movie to get his powers to heal it, only it mutated them,
right,
and made it so they couldn't breathe oxygen.
Yeah.
They could only survive in the water. So they basically picked up and transplanted their entire culture underwater.
Right.
Which was brilliant, and it made the costumes look great, and it made I don't know, it
gave them a real, like, solid jumping off point too for the culture world building, because, like, they had, you know, the ziggurat style pyramid, you know, they had the, you know, the hoop ball game thing. You know, like, oh no, we fell down.
Hang on, we're coming.
Oh no, now that I can't see you. There we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. Our little stuffed octopus is holding the camera right now. So that's what did that. But yeah, like I remember when I heard the casting, I heard when they cast Namor. And even the way they pronounce his name, I think, is different. Like Namor, I think, is how they
because it's the child without
the man who doesn't love.
Right, with no love.
With no love is
no more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so when I heard they cast him, I was disappointed because I wanted Daniel Day Kim to play. Because I remember Daniel Day Kim saying in an interview he really wanted to play Namor, and I was like, yes, because I love Daniel Day Kim. I think he's fucking amazing.
Right.
But I love what they did with him, and I think it's funny. At least so far, I have not. But I've been actively avoiding like anything Black Panther related till we saw this. I haven't heard anybody bitching, moaning, or complaining that he's not like he is in the comics.
Right. Well, because he's not a woman.
You know, but still, they did change his ethnicity.
That's true.
Because Namor was always drawn with a very heavy Asian.
Really?
Very heavy Asian influence. So.
Yeah, that's because they're not trying to turn a white person around. So
yeah, but even so, I'm still surprised the purists, meaning AKA the racists,
right,
aren't like up in arms. So at least, again, I don't know. I've actively avoided any other content about this movie until we could see it.
From what I could tell, and I'm not familiar with Narcos, I didn't watch Narcos, but just looking at the IMDb pages of Namor and his group of people there, looked like they were actively recruiting Mexican or Latinx actors. Like,
which again, I think all for the better. I think it made the film look great. It looked different. It gave it a very different look. I love the new reimagining of them, and I think it works really, really freaking great.
And I love that they put in, because we had this talk about a lot of the Marvel villains now are not villains. They are people who are making a choice, and you really have to decide, like, you really have to, like, kind of figure out for yourself, would I make that choice or not? Because when it comes down to it, Namor is trying to protect his people.
Yeah, he's basically the other side of the coin of the Black Panther.
Right.
He's the exact same thing, just for a different culture, and just kind of like Killmonger. He was just going a little to the extreme.
Right. And he, like, loves his people. He brought them the sun, you know, like, he lives his life for his people, and you really do, because you see them and you see the story of the conquistadors and the colonizers, and why they went underwater, and why they feel the way they do about the surface people. And even when Queen Ramonda at the beginning really dresses down the countries in the United Nations, like, why would we give you our vibranium when we know you're going to use it to try to destroy each other?
Yeah.
You know?
Or why should we just give it to you because you want it?
Right.
You know?
I mean, they're basically saying the same thing. Like, you can't just let anyone in the world have vibranium, because they're going to do the same thing they did with nuclear weapons and try to blow each other up. You know? So, I think having them be Latinx and Mesoamerican, and it really, like, brings it into play.
Yeah.
Like.
And I think good choices all the way around.
Oh, yeah.
So here's another question. So now I think we have to ask this one. So interestingly enough, we were talking about this too, and this hasn't gotten a lot of response from what I've heard, and that's unfortunate. This is a comic book movie that has a predominantly black female cast.
Oh yeah.
Like, it is a black female driven story.
And I'll say, like I told you before, I truly think the reason that it is not being pushed in that way,
We fell down again.
is because
We're back.
there would be so much kickback from the purist fanboys and all of that, even though Wakanda is a matriarchal society, you know, like, they believe in strong women like the Klingons, you know.
So with that, so of course, this one is kind of different from almost every other Marvel sequel, because it almost has to function as a second origin story.
Basically.
So how do you think? I think at this point we can. So spoiler alert in case you haven't seen it, but Shuri becomes the new Black Panther.
Shuri
becomes the new Black Panther, which
Right.
I think most people were pretty sure that's what was going to happen.
They were sure
They were that, yeah. So it kind of has to serve as a second origin story, and it kind of has to. It has the difficult task of taking a supporting character from the original and now having to bump them up to the lead of a franchise.
Right.
So as a second origin story for her version of the Black Panther, how do you think it went?
So, first of all, it was a multiple origin story, because we've got the origination of Ironheart, not to mention the origination of Midnight Angel, and then the new Black Panther,
and Namor. So yeah, a lot of origin stories going on in this.
No wonder it was almost 3 hours long.
Yeah.
I think they handled it really well, because they allowed it. It was as much Denai Guerrera and Lupita Nyong'o's movie and Angela Bassett's movie as it was Letitia Wright's. You know, like, you couldn't have had their story without them interacting and having the story together. And I think there was so many beautiful things about that. I think that the emphasis on sisterhood, the fact that you didn't see like girls doing the typical girl fight, backbiting, stepping on each other to gain power scenario, truly passes the Bechdel test. Like, I don't know that there was any conversation except for maybe Nakia talking about T'Challa.
But
yeah.
I think that's different than what we normally consider the Bechdel test.
Right. Like, I don't think there was any conversation about romance or romantic love interest.
Because I think that was more them sharing grief over the passing of a mutual loved one.
Right.
You know, more than, oh my God, does he like me? You know, what makes commitment? You know, that kind of thing.
Like, I just think, there was such emphasis on sisterhood and helping each other out and raising each other and making each other better, that I just think it was really, just beautiful. Like, I loved what they did with these. This was what the Wonder Woman movie should have been. So, go ahead.
Oh, no. I think they did fairly well, and I think they did a good job of showing the struggles that all the characters were going through. But I sometimes felt like the general of the guard.
I cannot remember what her name is. It's Aoki, maybe?
Yeah.
But Denai Guerrera.
Yeah. I just think because of her natural charisma, it sometimes felt like she was more the focal point of the movie.
She is very...
because she is incredibly charismatic.
She really is.
And nothing against... I can't remember anybody's name, I'm sorry. Sherry's...
Right?
Nothing against her. She's a fine actor. But, the general just has so much more screen presence.
She does really
and it felt more like it was her story more than Shuri's story.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, I feel like it was all of their story. Like, Angela Bassett, too.
But from a strictly narrative perspective, you're right. It was about all of them. But it was the main focus, our point of view character, was her. It was her character arc that we were following through the entire thing of accepting responsibility, mourning, blending cult tradition and new ideas, vengeance, doing the right thing. She's the one who was going through all of the major character stuff.
Right.
But the general just felt more like a hero to me. And I think that is an issue of just stage presence. She's just a more powerful stage presence, and that's nothing you could do about any of that aside from tone down her role, which I would not recommend because she was really good. So it's an issue that doesn't really have a solution from my perspective. Like, it did feel like it just wasn't her movie a lot of the time.
I don't know. I would disagree on that point. I think that Ryan Coogler knew he had this chance to make this movie about powerful women, and he shoved as many as he could in there.
I don't object to any of that.
I don't know how many times I told you during the movie, there was not a not perfect woman in this movie. Like, every one of the women are beautiful, and their bodies are so powerful. They're amazing to watch because they're literally the perfect specimen of what a female body could be at its most powerful. like their arms and their shoulders and everything is so sculpted, but they're still allowed to be feminine. And that was the other thing too, the feminization of the women and like allowing them to express themselves and be sexy without fetishization or over sexualization too. Like they did such a great job of allowing natural sexiness and charisma and beauty to come out of the women without it being like that epitomized comic book sexiness. Like it's just like like wonderful. And Shuri herself, like when she's in her street clothes, very gender non-conforming, non-specific, you know,
Yep.
like really, really wonderful. Like the way they presented the women in this is just amazing.
Okay. So a lot of praise. Anything, what didn't you like?
So my primary issue was, I think, a theater issue and not a movie issue. Like, I think in the theater we were in it was their problem, but a lot of it was dark. Like, not dark.
In terms of illumination.
Right, as in
like the projector wasn't running as bright as it should have. So a lot of the night scenes, it was very hard.
It was hard to tell what was going on.
Even some of the day scenes.
The underwater scenes were the ones that were the hardest. And so I ended up leaving with a bit of a headache because I was like trying to squint to see what was going on in the screen. But like I said, I'm pretty sure that was
I think that was the theater we were at.
Right.
Not the movie itself. So
as far as like the movie itself, I felt like it was long, but I don't know what you would cut out.
You probably could have cut out, unless it's going to come back into play later. There was the subplot between Martin Freeman and Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh, well, that's been the through line.
Where they... so the rest of the world doesn't know the not Atlanteans exist. Right. So every time there's an attack, they think it's the Wakandans.
Right.
So I think that's obviously setting the stage and all of that for probably the third movie, or it could be what the plot of the Thunderbolts is going to be.
Right.
They're going to use that as justification to go in and get the vibranium.
Right.
But so that may be loading the bases for Black Panther 3 or a future Marvel film. But it felt like here it was an episode of CSI in the middle of your Black Panther film.
Right.
So I'm just saying, if you were going to streamline something.
Yeah, but I do think I think that's the through line to the other movies.
I mean, yeah, obviously, I think that's what they're, like I say, it's either going to be for Black Panther 3 and that rhymes, or it may be what the plot of the Thunderbolts is. So
yeah.
For me, I will agree with that, and we talked about this right after. But I think the weakest part of the film for me was our new character Ironheart, and what my issue there is that it felt like, once again, like we said, there were a lot of origin stories in this. Is they were really rushing to turn her into Ironheart, instead of just letting her be a character in the film and then waiting until her Disney Plus series to let her build the armor. It's something I feel like they could have planted the seeds to.
Right, like, sure, she's the scientist who created the thing, but yeah.
But having to go through the whole thing of her, it felt like it was a rushed origin.
Right.
And because of that, it didn't feel like her character didn't feel developed or interesting or really.
I think she was interesting. I think that she was not as interesting as what was going on with the other women in the movie.
Yeah,
and that was the issue.
But like right now, if you asked me, who is this character?
Right.
Outside of saying a black female Tony Stark, I don't have anything for you. But
Right.
you asked me who America Chavez is, and I can tell you more about her. It felt like she had more character, and we know more about who she is.
From
But here
yeah.
it felt like she was generic teenage girl number 5, and I think that's because they rushed her too much. If they just let her be in there and let her bounce off of the other characters more and not have to worry about her becoming
Right.
Ironheart.
I have to wonder if they had already had the plot of the Ironheart series in mind.
Oh, probably.
And they had to basically, I know I'm stopping. They had to kind of shoehorn in parts of her origin story.
I'm sure. I'm sure when they go in for these, I'm sure when they go in for the discussion of the next movie, they get some kind of list of these are the things that we want this film to set up.
Right.
Or you need to drop this name somewhere in there that's going to pay off later. I'm sure they.
Right.
I don't think they just let these guys and gals go in there and just do whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I have an objection, I think that's the main one. Is I think they would have been better served to give her more character and worry less about turning her into a superhero right off the bat.
Right.
Especially since it's set up that she's kind of another Shuri.
Right.
So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the Tony Stark, Peter Parker dynamic from them.
I think the problem there is that they're two Peter Parkers.
But what I'm saying is not that, but the immature person now having to become a mentor, and her kind of Shuri kind of dealing with her grief through mentoring this young person who reminds her a lot of herself. So
Right.
she has to kind of take on a more mature,
like T'Challa did for her.
Yeah. And I feel like they were trying to do that, but I never felt like that came out.
Yeah, I don't think it paid off for them.
But I think that's what they were trying to do.
Now, speaking of that journey with Shuri and her grief, did you feel like that was a complete story?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I felt like it was a complete story. It was bookended really nice.
It was. They really did start, they sandwiched the movie with memorials and grief surrounding the death of T'Challa. Or Chadwick Boseman, really.
The only thing I say that and maybe they did this, I don't remember, but it felt like what they were trying to go for, and I think this may be the reason they ditched this, is because it was a little too much of the Star-Lord origin.
Right.
Is that they make this big deal that while T'Challa was dying, he was calling for her, but she was too obsessed with trying. No.
We fell down.
Anyway, but she was too obsessed with trying to find the cure to go see him.
Right.
And they make a big deal of showing that at the beginning. So you kind of were planning that's what she's trying to deal with, that she should have gone and seen him and had that moment with him that was more important than trying to fix all the problems. And it never felt like that really got paid off, but I think again that might have been too close to the Star-Lord thing.
Yeah, I would say that the journey that she goes on with grief, I think, is pretty. It showcases the continuous nature of it.
Yeah.
I always think of grief as the waves of an ocean. It comes in and it goes out, and it's flowing. It's not stagnant. So I think that they did a really beautiful job with it.
Yeah, and I think it was a smart choice, and Marvel does this a lot, of making the real world question of the movie the journey of the movie.
Right.
You know, kind of, you know, the best example, you know, going all the way back to the original Avengers is, can all of this actually work? And that was the whole story of the Avengers. Can this actually work? Can these people actually come together? And they've done that a lot throughout the series. And so I think dealing with the grief of Chadwick Boseman's passing and saying that's the story here, I think that was a smart way to go. And it made it, I think it worked.
Like I said, it was really beautifully done, and I really think they did well by Lupita Nyong'o's character, Nakia. Like, I think that she has a really beautiful part in this too.
Oh yeah, very much so. So yeah, all right. I can't think of. Is there anything else we need to want to touch on or talk about, or before we wrap up?
No.
I know they get mad at us or they get mad at me. Because, you know, we spend hours talking about the Marvel movies, but I only gave Love and Tyranny 20 minutes, so, I mean...
You just keep trying to make those Love and Tyranny people mad, don't you?
No, I don't want the Tyranny clan coming after me, like, any more than they already have.
I am just amazed at the amount of talent. Oh, Angela Bassett. We didn't even talk about Angela Bassett.
I don't know what you need to say about Angela Bassett other than she's Angela fucking Bassett.
She was honestly, talk about screen presence.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain people you don't really need to talk about. It's Angela fucking Bassett. You know, I mean, there are just, like, what do you need to say about Angela Bassett?
I know.
I mean...
I just think that it was like...
Other than Hail to the Queen. I mean, come on.
Well, and we got the start of the movie with that memorial, and I started bawling. End of the movie, Suri, you know, confronting her grief and healing. I'm bawling. We get to the credits, and I'm finally stopped crying. And then they have the little...
The mid-credit scene.
And now I'm bawling again.
Yeah.
Like, it was very beautiful. Honestly, visually beautiful, costumes beautiful, story beautiful. Like, I really love this one.
All right, so let's do it. Final grade. What's your final grade for this one, honey?
I'm going to say solid A. I'm not going to go A+ just because I did walk away with a headache. But I don't think it's their fault. Okay.
I'm with you. I'm going a solid A on this one too. It's stupid to say that it's not as good as the original because nothing can be.
Right.
You know, the original Black Panther was like a cultural milestone. It's kind of like trying to do a sequel to Jurassic Park. And no matter how much you try, nothing's going to make that lightning strike twice.
Right. And Black Panther really, I mean, not even just in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like in movies in general.
Yeah, it's an important film, and nothing's gonna, especially when you have to go back and do what they had to do. And we talked about this. Is just wondering how
far back did they know Chadwick?
You know, because Ryan, from what I understand, Ryan Coogler knew
that he was ill.
That he was sick. So you wonder, was he planning this movie with Chadwick Boseman? Or did he maybe kind of know by the time they got there that wasn't going to be an option?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it just feels to me like this film does have a little bit of a feeling of changing direction in midair. A little bit. But
I think this is an important film too.
It is, and it is. It's very important for all the reasons we talked about. Just it's a very, and I think that's what the Black Panther series has become. It's a very important film series, and it's treated as such. So I go solid A on this one. I really enjoyed it. Beautiful movie.
We didn't even talk about your favorite little piece of man candy.
Michael B. Jordan.
Your.
I'm not ashamed to say I got a man crush on Michael B. Jordan. But I've said it since Creed. If y'all ain't on board the Michael B. Jordan train, you're all getting left behind. All right? To be as nice a guy as he is, be as good looking as he is, and be as goddamn talented as he is, fuck, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, I do not apologize for man crushing over Michael B. Jordan. Not even a little. So, but anyway, so yes, so a good entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and an important movie in its own right.
Yes.
And a more than worthy tribute to the great Chadwick Boseman, who gave everybody so much.
Yes.
So, all right. So, thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for dealing with the phones falling and everything. It's just the way we roll, literally. So, thank you very much. Everybody have a wonderful holiday. We're going to be back. We've got some other movies planned for the week. So we will be back. Thanks for joining us. And as always, drive safe, and we will see you at the movies.